Andrew Forrest, welcome to the precipice. So,
The precipice. Wasn't
indeed,
expecting that.
aha,
We're on the edge.
we are.
Oh, that's where I like to be. I like to be on the cutting edge. Hello.
Yes. Well, my question to you is, what are we on the edge of as humanity at this time?
Gosh, what are we on the edge of? I would say we're not even on the edge. I think we've jumped over the precipice into a huge paradigm shift. Certainly, looking at the world, many of us, and I would say millions, are very aware of what's going on a spiritual level, on an economic level, on a political level, on a geopolitical level, and they've taken the plunge into finding out who they really are on a soul level, on a sort of spiritual level. So they've already taken that plunge. Maybe the most of humanity hasn't. So there is a precipice for humanity
Hmm.
on in all these particular aspects, whereby I think the world is about to change. At first, seemingly catastrophically for the next 7 years, and then after that, absolutely the opposite. So we've got possibly the worst time in history coming up, and then we've possibly got the best time in history immediately following. That's my take on it, and I've been saying that for quite some years publicly, and I got into quite a lot of trouble for it. But people don't like big change, but they're going to have to prepare, possibly for an internet crash, possibly for a massive monetary collapse, which isn't exactly news. People have been predicting this stuff for a long time, not just in recent times, but even biblically, if you like. So I think people are quite well prepped for, we've got to move on. We've got to find out what's real and what we've incarnated for and what we're doing collectively, what we're doing to animals, what we're doing to each other, what we're doing to the planet, and change. So we are on the edge of a cliff, as you rightly said, in that sense. I would say collectively,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, it got me excited when you said the next 7 years are potentially catastrophic. And then what do you see after those 7 years?
Well, I don't know how familiar people will be watching this interview are about the term Sat Yuga, but it's obviously a more Indian approach to era change. And the Indian reflection on that is that we're in Kali Yuga, which is the darkest of all ages, the most materialistic, the most corrupt, the most violent, the most divisive. And that precedes the opposite, which is Sat Yuga, which is the most beautiful, the most egalitarian, the most spiritual, the most harmonious, the most sane. We've gone from the darkest to the lightest, going to going from the most material to the most spiritual. Now, there is a yuga in between, which is a kind of envelope, if you like, for coming out of the darkness and into the light. Forgive me while I think it's called Treta. But anyway, that aside, there's this probably in our lifetime, and I'm suggesting it's sooner than a lot of Indians say it's thousands of years away.
Mm.
A lot of other Indians say it's a few hundred years away, and a lot of other Indians say it's around the corner. Now, I'm not looking at Indian philosophy in that way. I feel it's around the corner,
Mm.
personally, and I felt that for many, well, at least a decade. And I predicted that in 2000. I think it was 33. I was saying this in my social media. There's going to be a huge global shift. I wasn't really sure in what way. I was thinking maybe a flood, maybe fire, maybe some kind of thing coming from outside of the earth to change everything, maybe an internal change, maybe plate tectonics going crazy with earthquakes and floods, and which are happening as we speak, wildfires, you name it. Third World War, the Middle East thing, it's not sustainable, but it might be totally necessary to get rid of all the infrastructure of Kali Yuga. So we can sort of start again with a blank canvas. I don't know whether I can't remember what your question was.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of purge, what
Yeah,
you're
that's
talking
it. Yeah.
about. in a way.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious when you say get rid of the infrastructure of Kali Yuga, uh, like, yeah, what do you mean? But
Okay, well, whatever that's put into place to keep people in ignorant slavery,
mm,
constant slavery. I mean, if you want to go into a big history thing, this would be a whole topic in itself because we have basically been downgraded from star beings to hybrid humans to be a slave population for the dark collective ETs. I'll call them the fallen angels. I mean, there's lots of different terms for what they are. And a lot of people have woken up to this whole, what are humans? There's not a human being on the earth. We've all got human bodies, of course, and we're mammals and we procreate as mammals do. So we are mammals, but that's not what we are. We're souls inside a human body. And if you want to go even beyond that, we're over souls. And if you want to go beyond that, it keeps going up and up the vibrational levels until you get to ascended master. Now, everyone equally, including people like Jimmy Savile and Donald Trump, and I mean, it's best not to mention too many names, but let's just say the dark, the people that do the dark deeds have masters in some source or God or oneness, whatever word you feel comfortable with. They're equally divine, but they're just doing their job of being demons in this life. In past lives, we've been demons. In
mm,
past lives, we've been cruel. In past lives, we've been, not very kind, loving, compassionate people. All of us equally. I have. And it might take a few thousand years for a soul in the apparent journey of time and space to progress through its karma and come to a place where it wants to serve through love. Um, so, in the sense of historically speaking, I think this whole collective of slavery that we've become hybrids, that's going to end in yours and my lifetime, I feel, which is amazing because that we're talking about hundreds of thousands of years.
mm,
So it's a huge paradigm shift. It's not just like, one day it's raining, the next day it's sunny. It's like one day it's third dimension, next day it's the fifth dimension, and maybe even up to the seventh on this earth in our lifetime. That's exponential. That's like unprecedented. That's what I came here for, to with millions of others to help facilitate, to help birth the new earth consciously, if you like.
mm,
Certainly, many people are aware of this now, and I would say it's millions, which is very encouraging. I don't see it as being depressing at all what's about to happen. It's certainly very, very challenging, and it's going to knock people. A lot of people are going to leave, for
mm,
sure, because they won't want to. They haven't really upgraded their system with really, especially clearing trauma. Ancestral personal trauma has to be cleared in order to live on the new earth, which will then be a fifth dimensional energy. So if you have got that kind of duality still inside, that trauma, that ancestral memory going back at least 7 generations. If you haven't cleared that, your vibration will not be at one with the vibration of the earth. So it wouldn't be appropriate to be here. You wouldn't be it would just be there'd be other places to learn whatever that soul needs to learn. No judgment in any of that. Just kind of like an energetic resonance has to be there, I think.
mm.
That's my feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And when you talk about clearing, healing, and ancestral trauma, it makes me think of there's just so much going
Yes.
on Earth right now that is assisting us in our healing, feeling, transmuting, clearing ancestral trauma. There's the plant medicine work, all the, ayahuasca in the jungles, there's internal family systems, there's meditation, there's just so much. And there's so many paths, and there's not one perfect, best, right way to do the ancestral heal. It's just it's all the ways.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and it
100%.
yeah, and it's available if you choose to look for it. If you want to find it, you can find that. And you still have to, yeah, do the work. What about the people that continue to choose ignorance and don't invest in doing the work?
Right.
Or yeah.
That's an interesting question. Well, there's an interesting how do I put this? When it comes to the issue of free will, this is a big subject for me, and I've talked to Samuel in the tribe about this um, quite directly. I came to a place 20 years ago where it was seen very clearly there's actually no free will. Now, this is very contentious. Most spiritual teachers and leaders believe in free will, but I saw very clearly quite a long time ago that that's the ego's need, understandable need, to control its reality. Now, the ego can't control its reality because it's not real. The ego is a construct that happens when you're born, really. From there onwards, you're starting to construct a character which is not real. It's a construct that has to survive. So, if you've got a particularly dysfunctional family, say, you will develop all kinds of survival strategies in order to be able to just keep going. Now, that's what I would call the ego. So it's a totally natural thing in one way, but in another way, it's not real because it's a construct. The real inside is the soul.
Mm,
Now, even the soul, from what's been seen here, and this is very contentious, it's contentious in most spiritual circles, the soul is seen here as not having any choice either because it's God, source, divine souling. The ego is God, source, divine egoing. So therefore, the soul, but through only grace, and everything is actually only grace in the end, in the way it's perceived here again. Through grace, the soul will suddenly realize, oh, I'm not a separate soul either. I now found out my ego is not separate, but now I've suddenly seen that my soul is also not separate, that it's God souling. And then, and this is the ultimate, this is the absolute ultimate gesture of the illusory self soul, is to surrender itself completely, unconditionally, and even willingly and joyfully to what I would call the divine.
mm,
And that's what's happened here for quite some time. And in more recent times, there was a huge shift from fear to fearlessness. I can't find any fear. There's no fear of death because there is no death for one thing, but there's no fear of it either. Now, there would, if a tiger came into the room or a cobra, of course, there'd be a natural reaction to survive. I don't mean there's no fear in the natural sense, but there's no sign of any existential fear in this body because everything is the divine. So there's nothing to be afraid of, including death. So that's already quite a big, yeah. I sense, what I've probably done is just push you off the precipice with no
ah, yeah.
with no
Okay.
apology because you
Yeah.
know that's what's seen here is very. I can only be authentic. I can't compromise. I can't
Mm,
people please.
mm,
Probably got that sense on the tribe, and I've upset a few people in the tribe. I know it's not intentional. It's just if I'm not real
mm,
and if I'm not 100% authentic, I'm not interested in speaking
mm,
because
mm,
it's no point. It doesn't serve.
mm,
The only thing that serves is truth,
mm,
all of us. And I want to remind people that surrender, and it has to be unconditional. It's no good saying, "Oh, I surrender my." It's like everything, your thoughts, your beliefs.
mm.
Now, the belief in free will. Just, do you mind me extending
Go
this?
for it. Go for it.
You're a very, very good listener. Thank you. It's quite rare to find a good listener in an interview. You're very, very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate your spaciousness because this is a big subject.
Hmm.
I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Uh,
I was going to say about
yeah.
what was it again? About surrender.
Yeah.
Was it? Was Can you just help me with that? I've lost my
Well,
thread. Sorry.
perhaps can I share my perspective thus far, and we'll see if
Of
what you were going
course.
to share comes back. This brings
Please.
up a lot for me. Um,
Yes.
and I really, really appreciate you not holding back and just sharing your truth as you see it, feel it, know it. and living it. And I love that. What I see in this is three different levels of free will. There's at the ego level, there's no free will because you're just kind of scurrying around on the level of cravings and fears and desires and habitual reactiveness, and there's no, it's just the operating system's just operating from its programming, and there's no free will. You're just kind of in the darkness of the shadow of the ego. How your parents, they've programmed your subconscious mind up until the age of 7, and you're just kind of running that programming. And then there's a shift where you start to, in a sense, wake up, or the soul seeing comes in. And then from a soul perspective, there is this feeling of agency and free will, and shining the light of awareness of your soul on the conditioned mind, and starting to choose new things and choose a different way. And then the soul, as you're saying, the soul gets to a certain point in its journey where it realizes that, yeah, there's been no free will all along, and it's actually just part of God, and the soul surrenders itself into the oneness spirit, what I would call the monadic uh, existence,
Mhm.
where there is just oneness and everything just is. So how could there possibly be? That's the realm of non-duality. And so I
Absolutely.
I see, but I see the soul as this beautiful, almost like pivot point between the spirit and the personality, the ego. And my feeling is that in the soul realm, there is at least the illusion or the feeling of free will and choice. And I believe that's an important stage of the journey to go. One of my teachers describes it as like 0 to 30 is you're in the personality, and you actually want to make a personality in the world. And then from 30 to 60, you're in your soul years, and now you're actually bringing through your soul gifts. And then from 60 onwards, you're entering the monadic phase of life, which it seems like you're in. So I'm wondering if you've had that journey and now you're in your monadic years. So you're beautifully embodying that stage.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I understand everything you've said, and I totally resonate with all those aspects of the three, the kind
Mm,
of triple initiation. The first one, the ego, like, oh my God, what am I doing here? What's life? The soul, spirituality,
mm,
going on a spiritual path, maybe finding Eastern philosophy, maybe studying meditating, maybe studying chanting, becoming a vegetarian, do the usual. I mean, they're cliches, but they're very real things. And I certainly did all those in the 80s. I really did. I became a healer, I became a vegetarian. I was told about many past lives that were really quite extraordinary. But to be honest, before that, when I was quite a small child, I remembered my first past life before I'd even heard the word reincarnation. When I
mm,
was in North Wales, it was when I was 7 actually, and I wrote a poem called just it was just actually called Reincarnation, which I'm printing a book. It's writing a book, which I want to put that poem in because it's kind of like it helps to remind me of this journey as being one of never being fully asleep. There have been times when I've certainly been lost and actually in the hell realms. Again, this is another big topic. I want to try and keep the thread going from what you've just shared. It's profoundly true that you can go from the ego to the soul to what you would call the monad, which maybe I don't really know if I have a word for it, but it's where the soul has realized its own delusion of self-volition.
mm,
Now, there aren't too many people talking like that. Non-duality speakers, yes, and I was following radical non-duality for the last 20 years,
mm.
and I stopped following it a while back because it wasn't really inclusive of the soul or reincarnation or karma.
Yeah.
So I had to leave the Tony Parsons. I went on retreats a long time ago with him and Jim Newman. I don't know whether you know those people, but
No.
I was very in that camp of no choice, no free will, no point, no purpose. There's just, life. Now, I don't agree with that fully anymore, although I think some of it's a very profound pointing. suggesting that there is only oneness and totality, which I totally am on board with. But I think within the scheme of things, within the kind of illusion of the creation of time and space, 3D matrix, this Earth, prison planet, some people call it. I would just call it the 3D matrix, where we've got apparent time and space. Then we have had apparent reincarnations, and we have apparently believed we're a soul, and we have apparently remembered our past lives, and we probably, most of us apparently believe we're choosing our parents and the next life, and our siblings, and our future partners, and our jobs, and our creativity and our talents. Now, that's all well and good to a certain point, but something happens through grace and grace alone. And this is what happened here. And it wasn't very long ago.
Mm.
It wasn't months ago. It was weeks ago
Mm.
where there was an aha moment of such big import to me that I had to let go of all belief,
Wow.
all of it. You don't need belief. Belief is married to doubt. Isn't that amazing? So everyone that says, I believe in free will, well, that's because your ego wants to be in control. You don't want to hear that maybe, or maybe you do want to hear it. If there's grace, if everything's grace, some souls want to hear that they're not self-volitional, and some souls will want to argue to the death. They'll really argue about it. They'll defend their belief
Mm.
to the bitter end in a way. And that to me is like, that's not freedom. Freedom is not having a belief. You don't need one. I
Mm.
don't believe I'm God. I don't believe there's no free will.
Mm.
There is only totality. That's not anything to do with belief. That is all there is. A belief would be saying, well, you know what beliefs are.
Yes.
Yeah, we all know what we know. I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're kind of like trappings in a way, and I think there's a journey of shedding beliefs, almost like Russian dolls, shedding beliefs, and then maybe taking on an expanded belief, but that
Mhm.
still then becomes a limitation, and then needing to
Yeah,
shed that. And so you're saying that something has happened to you recently where kind of the final frontier of these belief shells has kind of cracked open for you through an act of grace, and there's a new level of freedom that you're experiencing.
absolutely. That's very beautifully put. Yes, and I see everything in the end is grace. What we thought we were choosing on reflection in hindsight, the beauty of hindsight is that I've never chosen it. And there's no way that I would have chosen the things I've gone through. If I was to tell you what I've gone through in this life, which has been severe, I've left my blood family. It was that bad. It was that demonic. It was that abusive.
Mm.
I actually left my blood family 5 years ago, but that's not, but that was also meant to be. There's no judgment about them. There's no, I left them very lovingly, funnily enough. I left them with a real feeling of neutrality, but nonetheless, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Mm.
I'm not interested in this game. I'm not interested in this family playing this game. I'm interested in ultimate truth, ultimate freedom, and ultimate expression of no limitation of self-expression, if you want to put it in that kind of way.
Mm.
And since leaving the family, that's been reflected back to me. The doors have opened, the soul families come in from around the world. My family is my soul family, not my blood family. In
Mm.
my case, it might not be true for them. They might be that they are soul family. And I totally also want to acknowledge that any difficulty we've ever had from demons or black magic or psychic attacks, and I've been surrounded by that my whole life, has only served in the end to make me stronger, more compassionate, more clear, and totally fearless. And they've been around me, and they're never that far away because the lighter the vehicle, the more the dark's interested. It has to be that way. It's like it's a sort of source splitting itself into the illusion of dark and light, the illusion of good and bad, the illusion of the God and Jesus and Satan. All that stuff is really just symbolic of in this reality, in this dualistic construct, which is not real. We just have to have opposites. So it's beautiful to see it that way because then you don't hold any resentment. You're no longer a victim. The victim card has been thrown into the fire, if you like, and you're left with compassion, but very, very, very clear boundaries.
Oh,
It's like, You can be unconditionally loving to 8 billion souls, but you can also say to 7.9 billion of them, you're not coming in here.
Mm,
You're not welcome here,
mm,
because all you're trying to do is, A, B, C. So very clear boundaries is the same as unconditional love. Whereas being open to anything, that's not a good place to be. You don't want to be open to all energies. In fact, quite the opposite. You want to contain in your vehicle. You want your heart in your body. You want your third eye to be working, but you don't want to be putting out all the time to connect with people. You want to be a container that just meets in resonance. You don't need to lean over. It's like, so if I lean forward to you now, what I'm doing is I'm losing my center. If
mm,
I lean I don't need to lean anywhere. Just, are we meeting? Great. Are we not meeting? Great.
mm,
But I don't need to overextend. Now, that's been 68 years of learning because I've always been very, very, I don't know what the right way of putting it is. I'm a very sensitive person. I'm extremely sensitive. You probably realize that. And I have overextended my whole life until quite recently. And it's a great lesson to learn. You tend to learn the hard way by getting, the lesson in your face in the end. It was just repeating itself so often. I suddenly kind of thought, "Oh, I think I've got it now. The universe has told me this so many times. I've got
mhm,
it. Don't overextend. Don't lean forward into, do you love me? Do you accept me? Will you follow me? Do you like me? Is it safe with you? It's like, I'm just me.
mm,
This is how, and when I say me, it just, this vehicle is what it is. I don't need anything from you, and you don't really need anything from me because all the answers are inside. I
mm,
don't have to convince you of anything in this sharing. I don't want to convince you of anything. It's more just speaking one's absolute authentic truth, take it or leave it in a way,
mm,
whilst joyfully sharing it and obviously in a way hoping there's a resonance because it's much more expanded and fun and fluid when there's a resonance. If you're sort of fighting, if you're trying to get your point across and it's not going very well, it becomes it's just hard work and not much fun. So that's a bit of that's an extended answer, I know, but these things happen, don't they, when you're chatting? They kind of, whatever God wants to say will be said in both these bodies. And
mm.
if you don't like the word God, anyone listening or you, source, oneness, all that is, totality, great spirit. I just think God is
Life.
like, yeah, yeah, undivided life. Actually, I think my favorite word is the beloved, much more.
Oh, yes.
That's, being a Sufi in a past life, and I was in a Sufi group in the 80s in London. In
Mm,
fact, I went to see a Sufi master called Irina Tweedy, who was an amazing Russian mystic, and I sat with her for a few weeks in London, and a few other amazing people in London I went and studied with, and that really reminded me of a Sufi past life because I've written quite a lot of poetry, and it's sort of quite like sort of Rumi-esque. And there's a poet I prefer to Rumi called Hafiz.
mhm.
And I love his stuff, and that's the kind of writing I've been doing since I was a teenager, really. So there's a strong Sufi thing in here too, without wanting to say, I mean, I'm not a Sufi, I'm not on anything, but I do love Sufi poetry.
I'm curious. I would love to hear, read, see some of your poetry.
You can go on my website and this there.
I went on your website on my phone and the links didn't seem to work. So maybe
Oh,
I'll try
really?
on the laptop.
Might be
Uh,
better. Yep.
but I did manage to see some of your art and it's mind-blowingly gorgeous. It's
Oh, thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's there's
Appreciate that.
it's galactic and otherworldly and then also very earthy and there's forests living up to your name and
Yeah,
and mountains and rivers. It's just it's rich, it's lush, and I just love the colors. It's really beautiful and moving. And your music is very
thank you.
it's very moving as well. And it's like angelic and etheric, but also there's a journey. It's not just all love and light. And
No.
yeah, this was almost like a doubt of like when I first saw a bit of your writing pop up, I was like, oh, is this guy kind of like a, is there love and light, spiritual bypassing? And then I'm like, no, like I feel you've been on the journey, and even in your music, it evokes, it takes me on a journey. It's going
Mm.
into, I almost feel there's a tone, that note that comes through, like a flavor of like divine discontent, like melancholy or even homesickness that I felt, and then it like bursts into this like beauty and heart opening and crown whatever again. But yeah, I don't, do you want to share about, yeah, that journey that your music goes on?
Well, that's amazing feedback. Thank you. That's yeah, interesting. It's certainly not escapist. It's not, there's no bypassing in this body of anything. I've been in therapy since 1987 in Glastonbury. It started off with rebirthing. There's no bypassing. There's as much melancholy as longing in the music as
Mm.
there is finding.
Yeah,
It's
longing's a beautiful, it's
yeah,
beautiful also.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the soul yearning for home, like you say.
Yeah.
Now, in the 1980s, before I did my first album, actually, I got a very strong internal knowing that I was from Andromeda, which is ninth dimensional. So this soul has come from Andromeda. And more recently, I was told by a dragon dream, my inner dragon came to me, and he's called, and I say he, it's like a male energy, is called Kalki. And he
Mm.
said, you're from the house of the golden dragon, and your name, I already knew my soul name was Kalki. So it's one and the same, and that you have come here to remind people musically, artistically, and in writing of their ancestral roots in the stars.
Oh,
So my particular journey was from Andromeda to incarnate, and I came through Sirius B, then the Sun, and I was born on a Sunday. And it's interesting that we're doing this interview on a Sunday. So that's quite nice, really. It's like that fits nicely. And Now, where was I going with that? Your question was about the music.
well,
So
I was curious about, yeah, actually, because I heard you mentioned somewhere your Andromedan roots, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, what's that
yeah.
about?
Well, the albums seem to have come through in succession. So the first album, I think I did it in 1991. It's around that time.
I saw 1992, which is the year I
Yeah.
was born.
Oh,
So,
right. I did it the year you
yeah,
were born. Okay.
I think there was a
Interesting.
lot of
Yeah. 92, yeah.
beautiful things that came through in that year. A lot of kind of my favorite spiritual books. And
Ah,
it seemed
ah.
like quite the, yeah, quite the vibe.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that first album came through on one keyboard I'd never recorded
Mm.
before. I did a lot of piano work before that when I lived in Glastonbury. This is the reason I'm saying this is how the music came through. I've always been interested in playing the piano. Had a few lessons when I was young, but I didn't really like the structure of that, so I just used to play. But I
Mm.
really knew I was going to become a recording musician when I was in Glastonbury and started hiring a room with a grand piano in every day for a few hours. Moved down to Devon from Glastonbury, got my first keyboard. I'm cutting a long story short, and recorded the whole of that first album within the sequencer within one keyboard. Now, I can't believe that now because I've now got about 15 keyboards. I've got a computer. Every album's got 70 tracks in it within one track. It's like, that was just a few tracks. So it's a very simple album because I didn't have much at my disposal, but it's got that kind of purity, that kind of innocence,
Mm.
that first album feel of, you're going to get better, but it's got a lot of purity in it. And that's from
Mm.
Pleiades. And I knew that was from Pleiades while I was doing. I had a lot of Pleiadian stuff come through before that in Glastonbury, a lot of information. And the next album, I think, if I'm right in saying, was 1987. It was Starseed. That was from Sirius, Sirius B particularly, which is the incarnation I came through after Andromeda, Sirius B, the Sun, Earth. Now, I thought there were Pleiades was in there, but I'm not so sure now. I think I bypassed Pleiades, but there's a connection. And then who knows? Maybe Pleiades is part of it. So the album I did in 1987 is called Starseed. Now that's a very different thing. That was to activate everyone's DNA strands up to 12 and 13. So a long time before I came into the tribe with Sam, the Eternal Life tribe, where he's talking about activating your DNA strands. I'd done an album in 1987. Sorry, no, sorry, 1997.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
With
yeah.
that I was told by my guides, and I don't even want to use the word guides, whatever comes through, whatever it is, it's a collective, a very powerful energy comes through this body when I'm being creative. I was told that's what it was for, and it is for that. And it's been by far and away my most popular album. I've done 12 albums, and I think I've done much better albums since then. I
Mhm.
really like my last three, but
Mm.
personally, but that album is the one that seems to really really hit home resonance wise with people. They're using it a lot in transference healing circles. They're using it in healing circles generally. It just really hits the spot for people of remembering, activating their DNA, going on a very powerful soul journey. And when I listen to it now, I can see why. I tend to listen to things a bit technically now because I've moved on a long way since then. And that's not a good idea because, of course, you do what you do when you do it and with the facilities you have and what's available to you. And I'm very proud of it in one way, but in another way, it's like, isn't it interesting how people always refer to that album? It's
Mm.
because of what the intention of it was so crystal clear, activate your DNA. So you wake up to who you are, you wake up to your spiritual ancestry. It doesn't have to be from Sirius, but it'll be wherever it is. It could be Lyra, which is 12th dimension. I'm not from there. I'm from the ninth dimension,
Mm.
but soul-wise.
Mhm.
But none of that matters about details. Like if it wakes you up, it wakes you up.
Mm.
So that was the journey of those albums. And then they moved, and the next album, I think it was the next album was from Andromeda
Mm.
called Alpha Omega. And that came a year after Starseed. It's got a very different feeling. It's got a lot. Starseed is only two tracks,
Mm.
two side in the old days, two sides, because I, used to have a CD where there were, nowadays everyone's streaming, so there are no sides or, on the vinyl days it was two sides, wasn't it? So it's really two tracks of 30 minutes on Starseed, whereas Alpha Omega, I think it's got seven or eight tracks, I can't remember, but it's a different, it's a completely different flavor. But it's directly from Andromeda, that album, and I've even named one track on it, Andromedan Transmission. I think it's hard for me to remember all the titles. There's a lot of
So
albums.
is Andromeda a galaxy or is it a star or is it a star
Well,
system? What?
that's a really good question. I think physically we think of it as being this huge place in the Milky Way that would encompass probably countless stars, countless solar
Mm.
systems. And I think it is that. But when I use the word Andromeda, it's not physical. It's
Okay.
liquid light. It's a ninth dimensional liquid light realm. There's no gender. There are no humans. There's no opposition. Everything is liquid light. Now that sounds a bit nebulous and difficult to get your head around, and I don't even know if I can put it into words beyond that because
Well, yeah.
it's not words are dualistic. So how can I describe a ninth dimension? You can't.
Mm.
It's not possible. Liquid light gets quite close, maybe, but what does that mean? Well, yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're talking about things from higher dimensions that
Yeah.
are, of course, not going to be, yeah, able to be understood from this dimensional perspective.
From the
I've,
English language point of view, it's impossible,
yeah,
right?
I've heard that there are beings on the planet Venus that are in a higher frequency dimension,
Yes,
that don't have physical bodies,
yes,
and there's potentially a council of elders or such on Saturn. Uh,
yes.
yeah, I don't
There's
know.
lots of information out there, and I think I don't know whether you agree with this, but for me, I have to be very discriminating about what I hear, read, entertain, take on, because a lot of it is quite sort of based on ego. Like
Hmm.
I'm very like specialness, and I really, really have a problem with specialness. To me, we are all, and I really mean this with my heart and soul, every blade of grass, every hedgehog, every bird, every snail, every drop of rain, everything is equally the beloved.
Hmm.
There's no way that anyone is more special. We're just at different stages of remembering that we are
Mm.
totality. So what specialness is not anything. It's like, oh, I'm, when I see people put themselves on a pedestal spiritually or wear fancy costumes or say, you need to bow to me because I am your, it doesn't work for me personally. It doesn't resonate. What resonates for me is if a speaker will say, you've got all the answers inside. I am you. You are me equally. You might be at a different stage of remembering that, but all I'm here to do is to remind you to look inside and find out for yourself rather than I'm teaching you something or I've reached a higher. To me, there's no higher or lower. There's no more or less because it's all God. It's all the divine. So what's higher or lower? I mean, there are different dimensions, sure. And you could say there are higher and lower ones, and this is a very low
Mm.
three-dimensional frequency, which of course it is, but I don't like the word higher or lower because it's divisive, it's special, it makes people that people's egos really latch onto that sort of thing in spiritual circles. And I've been around it a lot.
Mm.
It's a real test for a soul to not feel special. It's quite a hard one.
Mm.
We all like to think, oh, I've got that now. Oh, those people over there, they're still fighting and going to war and eating fast food. And it's like, yeah, but that's perfect.
Mm.
They're not choosing to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's their soul lesson. And if they are hurting people, there's nothing wrong with that either because that's their lesson. I mean, I would like it that everyone loved each other. I would like it that it was egalitarian. I would like it if there was equality, of course. But that will take time because
Mm.
souls are in different stages of experience, remembering, asleepness, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to this.
Covering big ground here.
I'm loving this.
Oh,
That
cool.
this brings me to the idea of the world soul and the
All
soul
right.
of
Uh,
the soul of the earth, if you will, if you believe
Yes,
in that. And
yes.
it like the idea of of Gaia or the Earth's soul evolving as we evolve. Like, are we co-evolving with the Earth? How do you see that?
Are we co-evolving as well? The Earth certainly is about to change, and
Uh-huh.
there'll be a huge upgrade. So if that's evolution, that is for sure. Because when you think about what's happened to the Earth with endless wars, endless mining, endless corruption, endless greed, endless contamination and pollution, the earth has had enough. You
Mm,
could say in one in from a human perspective, it would feel like, the earth's going to wake up and go, no more of this. Earthquakes, volcanoes, what floods. I've had enough of you humans doing this. I'm going to get rid of all this infrastructure and maybe even most of the humans, which possibly would happen. That is possible that most humans will leave soon. I'm not saying they will. I used to say they will, but I'm more careful about that now because actually I don't know, in
mm,
all honesty. But I think a lot of people are going to leave in the next few years. They just, it's just the way it is. And we all leave anyway at some point. There's no death. It's not tragic when people die. It's beautiful because they wake up more to their soul reality. So what's tragic about death? Nothing. I'm not sure if there is any such thing as a tragedy, really. It's obviously very painful here at the moment.
mm,
For a sensitive soul, I understand why people are very, very angry about the way Gaia's been treated. Um, I'm pretty sad about it myself, but at the same time, there's part of me that thinks, it's all perfect. It's all unfolding as it needs to. Things will change. So it could be that souls do develop. To go back to your question, I mean, I don't really have an answer to it. I don't know. I mean, there's a collective vibration always, for sure, but people seem to be in different collectives, don't we? You've got the collective of politics, you've got the collective of save the world, you've got the collective of you should be a vegan, you've got the collective you should be a carnivore. Carnivore's coming back in now in a big way. You've got the collective you should be in Vedic astrology, you should be in West. I mean, it goes on forever and it's still divided. So I'm a bit reluctant to, I wouldn't put myself in any collective. I just feel the Earth is about to go through massive stuff. And I think, well, it already is. Look at the wildfires.
I haven't actually seen where are the wildfires going on? I don't watch
Oh,
the
there's
news.
some big, well, there's certainly some big ones in America,
Yeah,
particularly.
wow.
There's a massive heat wave in Europe. I think that's caused problems. But we'll just see more. We'll see more and more tornadoes. We'll see more and more earthquakes. We'll see more and more fires. We'll see more and more floods. We'll see more and more plate tectonic movements. We'll see more and more. We'll see more and more a lot of things. I mean, to change the subject slightly, we are going to see massive hunger. We're
Mm,
going to see digital ID if people are blind enough to go that route. Unfortunately, that will lead to massive suffering in the end. The surveillance will be very, very strong. I mean, I don't, I know that even saying that here now I've said it on Facebook a million times that all this, I've been whistleblowing for decades and I
mm.
got shadow banned for it. But who cares? We're definitely coming up to a point now of absolute upheaval, and possibly have you seen the film The Hunger Games?
Yes. Wow, so poignant.
To me, that's a documentary.
I just rewatched it like 6 months ago, and the whole
Yeah,
way through I was like, wow, this is really like we all need to see this again to
yeah,
to
yes,
wake up to what
yeah,
is really going on. And I feel that for
yeah,
me in New Zealand, I am in the capital. I'm one of the ones in the capital. And there's people in Africa, there's people in the world that are mining my resources and that are starving, that are hungry. And what am I doing about it? And
mm,
it's the people that are in the capital that need to wake up and have the revolution. It's the people in America. It's the people in Israel that need to wake up. It's all of us that need to wake up and say no to our own governments.
I
And
haven't
it's
voted my
hard.
whole. I've never voted because they're totally corrupt. There's not one government in the world, and I hope someone corrects me. I hope I am wrong. I don't want to be right about this, but I've got a feeling it's true. They're completely corrupt,
Mm,
all of them.
mm,
That's why I would never even think about it. I don't want to put my energy into that because if you go left or right, it's the same above.
mm,
The puppet masters above left and right are the same puppet masters. So, oh, we'll go Labour, oh, we'll go Conservative or whatever. Democratic, Republic, whatever. Whichever way you look at it, it's the same masters over them. So if
mm,
you're involved in politics, unless you really see both sides of the fence clearly from a more elevated position, you'll just get caught up in left, right, left, right, left, right, and you just go. The same things happen then when the other side gets in. Politics is not the answer. The answer is spirituality. The answer is soul growth, or not growth. The answer is remembering who you are.
yeah.
The only answer is to remember who you are, embody it, speak it, be it. That's the only way. That's the revolution is self-love. And
Mm,
unconditional self-love is even more amazing because if you get to that place, and that's not easy, if you can get to unconditional self-love, you're free,
mm,
free of the illusion. And so you will therefore be at one with the unconditional love, which is all that is, which is appearing as all this dystopia. And then you're not only free of it, but you can be in it and not of it. A short, sort of shining light, if you like, a beacon, a clear instrument for compassion
mm,
and just being it really. Just I think the answer is just to be unconditional love. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to speak really, funnily enough. I mean if it's your dharma, if it's your road, of course you'll be speaking or sharing or healing or whatever, being creative. But really to me, it's a question of resonance of being a vibrational thing, frequency thing. If you're vibrating unconditional love, there's no greater service. And look at if you're into people like Babaji, if you want to call him a person, ascended master, and he said there's no free will. If you're into Ananda Mai Ma, who is my Sat guru from the 1980s, she said there's no free will. And they weren't just saying there's no free will. Ramakrishna, another one. There are several, and they're not just from India, people that talk like that. What they're saying is it's not that there's no free will for a person. There is no separate person to have free will. It's you've got
Ah.
to that's the inversion. So people get caught up on,
Mm,
oh God, I've got no free will, so I'm powerless, and they go into the victim code. And I
mm,
don't want to do that, Andrew. I've heard this from I can't tell you how many people quite strongly say, how dare you say I don't? I say, I'm not saying you don't have any free will. I'm saying there's no you separate to have it.
ah,
It's a huge inversion of the truth.
mm,
Say that you have no, it's a really good way of getting around that communication issue. And it's a paradigm shift within if it's seen, oh, I don't need to have free will because it's all God.
mm,
Absolutely. Very simple. The truth is always simple and childlike, innocent. It really is. It's not esoteric. It's not
mm,
subtle. It's not clever.
mm,
You're God. There's
mm,
nothing clever or subtle or esoteric about that. You are the divine. Simple. A child knows it. Young children are it. They don't even know it before their egos kick in.
mm,
Young children are completely expressing unconditional love without even, which is beautiful that they don't know it. I think that's what makes it so real in a way that it
mm,
just is like that already for them. You know, we can't remember, can we, being one? We probably remember being above two when our egos kicked in and we went to school after that. All the difficulties started, but when we were one, it, life just was. It just isness. Whatever was happening, and there can one can you can return to that
mm,
amazingly. I mean, not in the same way as a 1 year old, because of course you've got a grown-up brain and you've got lots of ways of coping with the world. You know, you can do things and drive a car and work a computer and so on and so forth. 1 year olds can't do that, but it's the same place really of maybe innocence is the wrong word, but absolute unconditional love.
mm,
That's really more than anything else what I'd like to talk about, even though it's very hard to talk about it, because surrender gets us to there. So if we want to talk about what's the last thing a soul has to face, it's its own delusion. And then when it's faced that, it gets quite joyfully into surrender. It's like, oh, good. Now I've got past the hurdle of my belief in myself as being volitional. Now I want to surrender because that's the purpose of life. Now I am surrendering, and if you keep surrendering unconditionally every minute of every day, all the things that you love, all the things you hate, all your beliefs, something happens. The beloved responds
mm,
because you've given everything. I mean, I almost, I feel quite tearful. In a way, it's the purpose of life, and it's the only one, is to surrender, oddly. Not oddly, just profoundly simply,
mm,
beautifully. Beautifully simply. And I think when people hear it, they either resonate or they don't like with anything. If it resonates, it does sort of bring tears to your eyes because it's the longing.
mm,
It's like, how do I give myself to the divine? How do I put myself into the fire? How do I walk into the fire? Sort of putting it poetically.
mm,
And it's not how do I do it, even that's not even true. It's like I just do it. Divine every morning. Anytime you remember, I surrender this. I surrender this difficulty, this pain, this trauma, but I also surrender this joy, this delight, this pleasure. I surrender my talents. I surrender my flaws. I surrender my deepest, deepest, darkest griefs and fears. I surrender all of it. And that's it. And you don't even expect an answer. It's more because that would be conditional. It's like, and keep doing it. And honestly, I can only speak from I can only speak from this place.
mm,
Beloved in the end responds. And it's all very different after that. You can't possibly see any separation anywhere after that. There isn't any. There just isn't any. There's no separation. It's an illusion, a very, very convincing experiential experienced illusion, but it's a complete and utter illusion that you and I are separate. There is no you or I. The computer's the beloved, this voice is the beloved, this yellow scarf's the beloved, so is yours, the clock on the wall, the air you breathe, every thought, every feeling, everything. Drops of rain, butterflies,
Hmm.
all the dark stuff, demons, devils, black magic, corruption, greed, cruelty. It's all the beloved. And any spiritual speaker worth their salt will always say that. They'll have to. If they're free, they'll have to say it because they won't want to. Why would you say anything else? You would want to impart that on anyone interested, open to hearing what they're alive for. I'm sure every human really would like to know why they're alive.
Hmm.
And I'm sure every human would like to know that actually their unconditional love being expressed is whatever they think they are. I'm sure they'd like to hear that. Maybe they can't hear it. But of course they'll hear it when they hear it because it's grace.
Hmm.
Everything is grace. So it does come down to that in the end.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm.
That was
Feel-
that was quite the transmission. I'd love to share yeah, my experience of hearing and receiving that. Um yeah, yeah, it felt mm, yeah, it felt very relaxing. Um
right.
yeah, to yeah, it felt very relaxing and it felt like yeah, within my body, it felt like there's this kind of like whatever within me is was previously kind of trying to go forwards, like this pressing against my forehead to figure something out, just kind of
Mm,
relaxes back, and then just kind of sits down a bit, and I feel almost like this door in the back of my heart opening, and this yeah, this like yeah, this relaxing again backwards and being
mm,
caught in this kind of cloud of yeah, feels like grace, feels like home, feels like oneness, feels like
mm,
spirit, feels like yeah,
mm,
ease. And it feels like I'm able to, it feels very nourishing. It feels like I'm able to like lay my head back on this pillow and be nourished and
mm,
have this beautiful energy kind of wash through me and nourish me and relax and rejuvenate me. And then there's this something kicks in, there's this desire to come back, and then there's more questions in my mind, and then there's like, no, but I've got more, you know,
mm.
there's more to be explored in this life. There's da da da. But actually having that experience of being able to go to that place
Mm,
and be nourished by that and then come back with all the questions, yeah, it's this is a beautiful reminder that that's always there. And there's been times in my life where I have resourced myself in what I would call the dark or oneness or spirit
mm,
more than others. And yeah, to be honest, like in the recent few months I've been very busy in this outwards gaze in the world
mm.
and also in my soul expression, which also has its own yeah, agendas in a way.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that feeling and that act of surrender is really beautiful and really nourishing. And
Mm.
then when you were kind of saying the words of active surrender, this resistance comes in. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to surrender that. I don't want to surrender this and this and this. And this resistance is there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so there's yeah, there's
Believe,
multiple.
believe me, I understand what you, that's very natural as well in a way because it's a
Yeah.
big paradigm shift potential, and the ego will go, "You can't be serious."
Oh yeah, but I just so appreciate yeah this reminder, and it feels like that's one of your gifts is to remind people that surrender is this beautiful, nourishing, it's the most natural thing ever, and we're so scared of it, but we actually need it. Even just a small dose each day would do us good.
It's
And
gold. It's gold.
yeah, even if we're not, for me, even if I'm not living at the stage of life where you are, where you seem to be, for the most part, living and bathing and breathing in this realm of surrender, I'm not there at that particular, at this time of my life. But oh God, it feels so good to just, yeah, take a moment to relax into that space. So yeah, thank you.
Also, it's really interesting what you've just said about a little while back when you were sharing, like you step back into a door into your heart.
Mm,
Now, I just want to give you some feedback on that because that is profoundly beautiful what you just said.
mm,
The door is in the heart,
mm,
specifically, it's where the soul is,
mm,
and it is a door, and the surrender takes you through that door.
mm.
That
Oof.
is it's the only way to open the door. You can't open it through chanting, you can't open it through meditation, you can't open it through ayahuasca. I've tried all
Mm,
that. I mean, you can have amazing experiences that are very profound and beautiful and very, wow,
mm,
really very expanded and very helpful for the soul to remember. But in the end, it's more simple than that. It's like, it's not about getting anything, it's about losing everything, not real. It's actually a loss. The gain isn't what you think, it's the loss. It's the loss of illusion. You step back into the door of your heart, like you said. You said it so beautifully and so in such a real way. You
mm,
were doing it, and
mm.
you said you even said, "I think I did do it," and then suddenly something comes in, which is also the beloved saying, "Hang on a minute, I got 5,000 questions." One question was answered, and five, like one door was closed, and 5,000, and that's the ego. It's
Yeah,
bound to. The
yeah,
ego always wants to know, but this isn't about knowing. This
mm,
is about
mm,
in the end, you don't know anything. You don't want to know things. It's more
mm,
everything's the beloved. What's knowledge? What's understanding compared with everything's unconditional love? You can say those words and you can't understand them with your mind because they're not of the mind. What's esoteric knowledge? What's spiritual understand? It's nothing compared with unconditional love. There is nothing compared with it because it's it. It's
mm,
everything.
mm,
Nothing can approach it, nothing can leave it because it is everything. It's not separate, it's not over there, it's not in India, it's not in Machu Picchu, it's not in Glastonbury, it's everywhere
mm,
and is everything. Everything.
mm.
It's kind of ridiculously simple.
Okay, I've
It's
got another question, Andrew.
no, that's fine. I don't mind, I don't mind whatever happens. If you've got 1,000 questions, it's what's happening.
Yeah. So,
All
okay,
good.
so it's not, yeah, so it's not in Machu Picchu, it's not in Sedona, it's not in Glastonbury, it's not
Well,
in the
hang on a
Tanganyika
minute.
Hills,
No, hang on. It is there, but it's
but it
not.
also is.
Yeah, yeah,
But my question is like, so when I go to Ototahi Christchurch, for
yeah,
example,
yeah,
oh, it feels like any of the cities, it feels dense and it feels hard and it feels like, ugh,
yeah,
like draining as concrete and there's
yeah,
surveillance, 5G, and wow. So,
yeah.
so how to be in those places? And then there's another question, which is, I heard you
Okay.
talking about demonic attacks, influences, entity, like energy, people that see your light and then want to grab it, and so all of that. Now, when I entertain the worldview that, because there's a part of me that wants to stay naive and be like, oh no, there's no demons, they don't exist. No one's trying to suck my light. I don't want to believe that. That's negative thinking. Uh, and but okay, I'm like, okay, maybe that's a bit naive. And then when I think, well, yeah, I have noticed that I have recognized some entities, some energies that feel parasitic and demonic, and then like Samuel B. Lee, for example, talks about activating your Maharic shield. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But then there's another fear that then arises that what if I haven't activated my Maharic shield for the day? Am I open to entities? And then I just feel, in a way, even more fearful than before. So I'm like, God, like, I don't want to have to keep like protecting myself, but maybe that's a good actual like stage of development to have this like, yeah, to practice boundaries and shield. So yeah, so how do you operate in the world? And was there a journey of somehow protecting your aura, or how do you see all that?
Well, the first thing I want to say is there are definitely things called demons. They're everywhere. They're
Okay.
invisible. There are lots of human beings who've got entities in them.
Mm,
Millions of people. We've all had them. They
mm,
could be temporary. They could come in and out when you're watching a film. They could be in the cinema. They could be at a football pit. They could be at a World Cup game, or a sports events. They could be at a really big rock concert. They could just be, you know, anywhere. They're all around. They're part of this 3D duality matrix. Very much so. Angels, the same.
mm,
In equal amounts, because everything's always equal. If you want to say there's light and dark, there's no way that one's more than the other because it's not possible.
mm,
There is only the whole. So it's all balanced. Now, the first thing I would suggest is definitely be very discriminating. Definitely put your shield up every morning if you feel the need to, or even if you don't.
mm,
Definitely do those kind of things and be very, very clear as much as is possible who you let in.
mm,
Social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's doing an interview, whether it's, I mean, even sexually, people open up themselves to all kinds of things through sexuality. God knows that's a really good portal for entities to get in there, particularly things like pornography or being with the not the wrong partner, but just the gratuitous sex thing. That's not a good idea. But it happens, and there'll be a learning in it sooner or later. It does happen. The most powerful thing for me is to remain neutral. Now, what I mean by that is, of course, there are demons. Of course, there are entities. Of course, there are beings that want to, like you said, maybe take your life or maybe diminish it or maybe kill you or maybe enter you and possess you. That's just true. Any shaman that's true is always working with that. They're always taking entities out of people. That's one of their most probably this is a busy job because they're all around. But it's nothing wrong with it. If you get frightened of it, that will let them in. If you have a lot of fear of it, that's definitely not. I mean, you're being honest, saying maybe you do have that, and I understand why people would say that's very frightening. What do I do? But the first thing is try not to buy into fear. Just say, no, you're not welcome here, energetically, even verbally. Be very discriminating about all social media. Be very discriminating where you go, how you spend your time. Where if you were to do plant journeys, definitely do it in a very, very conscious way, either with a really good shaman or if you do it on your own, make sure you've got very clear boundaries around you energetically if you know how to do that. But neutrality is a brilliant way to live life. If you look at Qigong, yin and yang, the way to find ultimate balance in Qigong is to be neutral. And that's not just an interesting word, it does mean energetically neutral. So you never go good, bad. You never go, oh, because that's already this. That's all if you just go, it's neither good nor bad, it just is. And remain neutral, that really, really helps you to contain, to be discriminating, to be perceptive,
mm,
and not. jump over into something. Say, oh yeah, I see, you get excited, and all those things are understandable. But I'm giving you my particular angle on it because I do qigong every day.
Mm.
Neutrality, discrimination. I mean, funny you should say the shield because somewhere down here, I've got it. The actual 12. This is the tree of life with 12 strands, not 10, that Sam picked up on from Ashiana's teachings. And a really dear friend of mine bought me this for I think it was for my birthday, and that helps. You could buy one of those. It's a good protection, but it's really good to do it every day, that shield. I mean, it's so quick, isn't it? It's a few seconds, really. All those things. I mean, if you're going to have to go into Christchurch or Auckland or Wellington or Nelson or probably even Takaka, there's 5G, sure. Just be neutral, be clear, and try and not put yourself out there too much, like socially, maybe. That's maybe more me. I'm a bit of a hermit. People don't even know me in Nelson. I mean, I've got a lot of work to do. A lot of it's painting, music, and writing. I don't need to be out there socializing all the time. It's exhausting, tiring, and actually, I don't want to. I
Mm.
don't find it interesting in any particular way anymore. I'd rather engage with my life work, my dharma, which is um, both creative and speaking, which is speaking the stuff we're talking about. And it doesn't require a lot of out and aboutness. But of course, if it's people's karma, dharma to be out there in the marketplace, beautiful. If you can stay neutral, there's some really amazing light workers that can hold their own out there in the marketplace. That's beautiful service too. It
Mm.
depends what you feel your particular, if you like, dharma is. I mean, obviously you're interviewing people, so you don't have to go out for that. That's something you can
Well,
do and
I
continue.
love being out and about. I love going to festivals. I love being just in amongst the people,
Right.
and I also long to be myself in my light in those places. And what I'm hearing when you say be neutral
Yes.
is also be in your center.
Contain. Be a
Yeah.
container.
Yeah.
Don't put out.
Yeah, and don't fall outside of yourself. And
Yeah.
I hear that and I know that in myself when I'm going, oh no, there's this fear. It's like I leave my center
Yes.
and it's not so much about constantly kind of like protecting, but actually just being in my
Yeah.
center,
Yeah.
that's enough. Because when
Yeah.
I inhabit my body, my vessel fully, there's no
Yeah.
space for anything else to enter. And it's just by not
Absolutely.
being present here with myself that I'm leaving the doors open. So that, yeah, and oh God, yeah, when I think of how much of my socializing I have had the tendency to, leave myself sometimes or get carried away or just
Mm.
not come from this place. And yeah, that's a good practice for me to just constantly be recentering. And I guess that's my version of activating the shield is
Yeah.
actually just coming to center and
Yes.
being in myself with my breath.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Hmm.
And you don't need anything for that. You just it's
Hmm.
kind of like it's a sort of an awareness married to action. It's like I'm
Hmm.
aware I'm containing, and I can now go into the center of Christchurch if I have to,
Hmm.
and be okay.
Hmm.
Nothing's welcome to come in here. You're
Hmm.
not welcome. There's no space, like you beautifully put. I've never heard anyone say that. That's really a lovely way of saying it. There's no space for you. You're not. It's not for you.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not for anything outside. A
Hmm.
lot of people's hearts. This is true in Qigong as well. If you want to look at it, sort of invisibly, as if energetically, a lot of people's hearts are outside of their body. Their souls are outside of their body. And you don't want that. You don't want that because that's no good to anyone.
mm,
You want your heart inside your heart. You want energetically, I'm talking about,
mm,
not physically, obviously. You want your soul. You don't want it up there. You don't want to be going transcendental because guess what? If you do that, you're open to embody. Embody is such a good word. Embody, the
mm,
perfect word.
mm,
Be grounded. Be barefoot a lot. Go in
mm,
the sun a lot. All the usual things that people now know about. Go in the sun a lot. You know, be barefoot a lot in nature.
mm,
All the time, as many times as you can in a day, do that, and that will really keep you well. Get up early in the morning, hear the birds sing, go to bed early. All those things that are very kind of obvious are hugely beneficial.
mm,
When you're eating, chew, don't talk.
mm.
Be mindful. I don't really like the word mindful because it's quite precious, but be just eat when you eat, sleep when you sleep. It's like
Yeah.
the truth is always very simple.
Mm.
What you're doing, do it fully.
Yeah. 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 That's very good advice for me in particular.
Well, and for me, to be honest,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still a work in progress. We all are.
Yes. I have two more questions for you if we have time for that.
I'm okay with time, so it's entirely up to you.
Great. I've got 27 minutes until I need to get on another call.
They must be big questions, and
Well, they always are. And
this is a cosmic call, isn't it?
oh yeah, I'm so enjoying it. So, what would you
Yeah,
say?
me too. Me too. It's flowing beautifully.
Great. What would you say is the difference between the 3D reality that we're in and moving to the 5D reality? Like, what is that 5D reality? What does that mean?
Well, there's lots of ways you could look at that. First of all, the environment will be treated properly. So
Mm,
there won't be any plundering of Earth's resources anymore. There won't be any need to. Probably won't be eating food, probably living on sunlight, breath, and also, this is very contentious. There won't be any money. There won't be any need for hospitals. There won't be any need for tax. There won't be any need for birth certificates. There won't be any need for schools. Everyone will be homeschooled. In the communities, everyone will be bringing up the children in the tribe and not just the poor nuclear family situation where the mother is like, oh my God, I need women to help me do this. And the men, like, the boys go off to initiations that are appropriate rather than going out and getting drunk or taking pee. They'll be actually doing shamanic initiations within the tribe with the men. So the girls and boys will be brought up in a tribal way. The parents will be part of the tribe. I see communities of light. I see people living without food for sure. I was told many, many, many years ago. Whenever I say told, I mean internally. I don't mean by a person that I would be a breatharian by the time I'm 70. Now that's only 2 years away, and I'm kind of getting younger in a way. So I'm not saying that will happen, but I kind of think it will. Is this on the cards? I think people need to stop personally being fanatical about food. You've got to be vegan. I think that's really dangerous.
mm,
Some people do not agree with that. They're carnivores. All the carnivores I know are really well. I know a lot of really ill vegans. So I think people need to reconsider their religious views on veganism because it's fanatical and a lot of things get harmed in veganism. They take over huge amounts of land and a lot of insects are killed. It's not actually as morally clean as vegans might think. Now, I was a vegetarian and a vegan, so I understand why people go down that road, but just be open-minded about food is a really good thing. That's one thing I think in the interim, next 7 years, just look at it with an open mind. Go, oh, maybe I need to be a bit more open. Not saying go in any direction. Some people are doing really well being vegans, obviously, and that's great. Breatharianism, that's an interesting thing. Urine drinking. I've been doing urine therapy for now the best part of 30 years, certainly 28 years I've been doing urine therapy, and it is the best medicine I've ever found because it's free, it's full of stem cells. You can heal any cut. If you get stung, if you get bitten by a poisonous snake, or let's say stung by a scorpion, that will kill you. If you wait a few seconds and put your urine under your tongue and hold it there, you won't die. It'll save your life. Your own urine in the desert. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's just a fact. And people have done it and they said it's so you don't ever need to die of thirst. You don't ever need to die of hunger because you can drink your own urine. It's the best thing for all your organs. It's really good for your skin and hair. It's really good for your teeth. Don't need to go to, there won't be any dentists. In the, that stuff is so primitive
Mm.
and and ignorant. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's a better way. Self-love and good information. So what else have we got? The new Earth going to 5D. Certainly no more politics. Certainly no more historical lies. Most of history is a lie. We have had nuclear wars on this Earth. We have had mining going on in all the canyons. If you look at a lot of canyons in America and other places in the middle, they are buildings that have been melted. Now, there's a whole thing you can research this melted buildings, and even in the Great Pyramids, underneath the structure on the outside, there are red bricks. Now, red bricks, this is the big subject. This is a whole new subject now, which is a very interesting one. I've been researching it for a long time. Red bricks are conductors of electricity. Now, what cathedrals are, the pyramids were not built by the pharaohs, they were built over 40,000 years ago. They were built by light beings from Lyra, the cat people, hence the Sphinx. The Sphinx used to have a lion's head on it. It was taken off by the pharaohs, and egotistically, they put their head on it because they were working for the Dark Collective, so they could have slaves and misinform people. But actually, just to go back to the subject, free energy buildings, ether, all cathedrals have got cathode and anode on the top of them, positive and at the bottom they have a power generator. This is very, very, very big paradigm shift for people to get their heads around. They've got nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. They took it over. They've taken so many things over, the Dark Collective. Those cathedrals were not built by people with hammers and chisels and horses and carts. They were built by light beings. Look at them. You go in a cathedral, it's like, how did they do that? They couldn't do it now with cranes. And so huge, huge, huge thing I'm putting out there now for people to get, just be open-minded, research it for yourself.
Mm.
Tartaria. Have you heard of Tartaria?
I have just seen a video pop up which I watched about Tartaria, about the cathedrals being taken over. I
There you
literally
go.
just saw that 2 days ago for the first time, and it really blew my mind. So I would love to do a whole nother podcast with you on this, please.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd be glad to because I've been immersed in those kind of things for the best part of 10 years. So,
Wow.
and going back further. So I'd be very happy to share. But basically, if you look at buildings even in New Zealand, there's loads of them in the asylums. They're huge. You wouldn't build a building like that for crazy people. They're free energy buildings. You look at the buildings in Dunedin, the old world ones, they're
Mm.
free. They've got nothing to do with governments or post offices or railway stations. All the railway stations in London, they were something else before. They're just Crystal Palace. And they had all those places in America torched that were the World Expo. They had free energy. They all had free energy. And if you look at the buildings, they are created only as that. They're ridiculous to think human beings could create them. Humans have been lied to about everything. We've been lied to about all the kind of industrial revolution stuff. Where did all those orphans come from in the Dickens books? That's a lie.
Mm.
People have been lied to. I can't think about anything they haven't been lied about. And I'm not saying that's wrong or it's bad or it's, how dare they. I'm saying just realize it and go and find out.
Mm.
As a general suggestion, it's all over the internet. I don't have to tell you. It's like, the experts are there.
Mm.
I just found out about it quite a while ago, and I was lucky to be on the cutting edge and the first wave of that
Mm.
Tartaria thing. But it's very interesting, all that. It's very interesting. There used to be giants here. There still are giants, actually, real ones, and they would have helped build those. I mean, you look at the doors in some old buildings. Why would a human being want a door it can't reach the handle to? And how would they?
Very
You
good
go in a
point.
cathedral and you look at the arches
Mm,
and the symmetry and the. I mean, it makes me cry when I go and
mm,
look at it. I immediately want to cry in awe,
mm,
first of all. And if there's a choir singing, kind of evokes that a bit. But it's got very. It's so got nothing to do with Roman Catholicism, who are the Dark Collective. I mean, look at what they've done to children and women in places like Ireland. Look at what the Roman Catholic Church done to children.
mm,
I mean, this is going out on the internet, right?
mm,
I've got to say it.
mm,
Millions of people know it. Millions of people are saying it.
mm,
It's kind of, it's just obvious when you can't all the things I'm talking about, you can't unsee them.
mm.
Once you've seen, and why would you want to? The truth will set you free. I love that out of the Bible. I love that saying. I mean, there's a lot of missayings in the Bible that are written by the Dark Collective, but there's some gems in there. The truth will set you free, and the truth is that you are divinity. Everything is, and surrender will set you free. That is the truth. And the truth is that also all these dark collectives are also divinity. The Roman Catholic Church is actually source, Roman Catholic churching.
Mm,
So there's no
mm,
judgment, there's exposure.
mm,
Very different thing. I'm not angry about them. I used to be quite angry back
mm,
in the day with all this dark stuff, but now it's like that's just feeding it. If you start getting angry and taking sides, all you're doing is going right back into the matrix and part of the division. It's best just to say that's how it is. I see it clearly. I've got the clear picture. Come from a place of neutrality.
mm.
I don't know whether I sound like I am. I get quite passionate about it, but
Yeah.
I'm not so angry about it. Occasionally it gets me a bit what governments do and what the lies are, but children being lied to in school is pretty boring and tiring. And
I think
but
it's okay to be angry about that as well.
I think it's okay to be angry about anything, but it's probably best not to just linger in anger for too long, because in a way it's quite bad for your heart after a while to be,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the Chinese medicine sense.
Mm, mm, mm.
If you hold anger in your heart, or certainly hate, that'll make you get old real quick. That'll kill you, that stuff.
Totally.
But
And
there is
anger
nothing
is
wrong with
natural, and I think
it. Yeah,
it's
it
okay
is.
to
It
let
is.
that, but as you say, don't let it linger, like let it flow through your system and not get stuck somewhere.
Absolutely.
But
I was
yeah.
very, very angry with my family for a while, and I suddenly got it. It's like, yeah, well, you've got every right to be, but you might as well let it go now because they are what they are, and come to a place of neutrality. You don't have to bend over backwards to please them again. You just leave them alone,
Mm,
no longer angry with you.
mm,
If anger comes up, it comes up. And again, this is really good to remember. Anger comes up, nothing wrong with it. It's energy, it's passion, it's aliveness, it's fire, but surrender it
mm.
as well. Don't make it wrong, though. Don't make anything wrong.
Well, and as anger flows through us, it gives us
Yeah,
clarity.
yeah, absolutely.
Like that anger, even towards your family, eventually gave you, by feeling that anger, you got the clarity. Actually, I want to have boundaries here
Yeah, yeah,
and say
absolutely.
no to this and walk away. And then the anger's done its job, and then you can surrender it.
Beautiful. I totally 100% on board with that. Anger,
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with anger. And Buddhists, I have a problem with Buddhism. Don't ever get angry. It's like, well, then get ill.
Yeah.
You've got to express it in a clean way and not project it. Ideally, do it in the privacy of your own healing space. Hit a pillow, scream, whatever. And then you'll usually find, in my experience, I always cry after I'm angry because
Mm,
underneath anger is usually deep grief. And
mm,
under deep grief, there's a lot more freedom. If you go beneath, I've had a lot of deep grief in this life, man. I can't tell you, quite a lot of anger. And underneath the deep grief is what you're looking for. It's like I surrender this deep, deep grief of abuse, exile, abandonment, demonic energy coming at me. I cry it out and then surrender the grief, and it's kind of gone to neutral again. Same with the anger. So definitely express it, preferably not to people because it'll rebound. I mean,
mm.
if you do, if you do, you do, and what will happen will happen. But anger is a tricky one with people. It's
Yeah,
it's it's fraught with potential comeback.
yes, and when you say don't express your anger to people, how I interpret that is okay. Feel the anger, allow that anger to
Yeah,
give you the clarity and then to
yeah,
move through you. And then from that place of clarity, then you can speak not your anger, but you can speak your boundaries
yeah.
or
Beautiful.
speak the clarity that that anger has given you
Absolutely
rather
beautiful.
than kind of vomiting that anger onto the other person. That
Yes.
anger's for you. That's your gift
Yeah, that's very
to
true.
feel.
That's beautifully put. Yeah, totally. There's nothing wrong with expressing your anger at all, and if you can do it in an intentional, um, careful way at home, in nature, wherever, in car,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you do it with someone, it's understandable that people get angry. There's nothing wrong with saying to someone, "I'm really angry with you."
Yeah.
I do say that to people, but I
Yeah.
don't say it shouting, or it's more like, "Look, I'm really angry with you about that." And you can say it neutrally, but the
Yeah.
anger,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
honest about the anger, it's like, that's
Yeah.
not cool. What you've
Yeah.
just done is not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
And you can say it with neutrality, but with a bit of passion, eh? It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not angry. It's like, no, no, don't be weak.
Yeah.
Don't be subservient. Definitely don't be a victim. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not going to get you anywhere. I mean, there's loads of victims in this world, poor me's. And
Yeah.
man, that is not healing.
Mm.
There's no healing in victimhood.
Mm.
All it does is, well, you know what it does. It just perpetuates itself.
Mm.
Oh, I was so unlucky when I was a child. Well, we all were. We were all unlucky in our childhood. Most of the people I know, and I know a lot of people, have been abused in their childhood, either mentally, physically, and certainly sexually. Loads of them.
Mm.
Men and women, boys and girls,
Mm.
loads of us. It's enough to make you weep and have compassion. I
Mm.
really understand it when people do the poor me card. It's understandable, but it's not a good idea to linger there forever. It's best to try and work through it and realize that, that was something you needed to go through as a soul, clear it out, cry, anger, go
Mm.
through the fear. If you have to go to a therapist to help, definitely, whatever works for you. I find doing it on my own mostly is okay, but I do ask for help and or have done, and move on.
Mm.
Become empowered with your self-love.
Mm.
I am a sovereign. I am sovereignty itself. I am divinity. I am a soul. If you want to go down that road, and then take that further and surrender that, and they'll set you free. Which is a journey,
Mm.
an ongoing journey. I had to surrender something yesterday on social media. I thought, well, here it comes again, Andrew. Talk about you say stuff, and then you've got to do it again yourself. But I had
Yeah.
to. Yeah, that wasn't cool. I didn't think that was cool, and I was kind of almost like saying something to someone. I thought, no, 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 that's old Andrew several years ago. Don't do it. Just feel the feeling of,
Mm.
and it only took a few seconds. But if I'd gone into the social media and done that, it
Mm.
would have led to a whole chain of misunderstandings and
Mm.
miscommunication, probably. So okay, yeah,
Mm.
feel the anger, feel the indignation, feel the frustration fully.
Mm.
Don't ever edit anything. Don't compromise. Don't ever bypass.
Mm.
Bypassing is probably the worst thing spiritual people. That's not very spiritual. I shouldn't feel angry. Well, go and join a Buddhist monastery then, because none of them do. It's not good for you to not feel angry. That's what
Mm.
it's for, to come through you as fire.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with it if you do it cleanly. It's really helpful. Like you've rightly said, it helps you see the situation clearly.
Mm.
Yeah, I am angry with my family, but at the same time, the way to heal it is to realize that you are and get the anger out
Mm.
and replace it with self-love. And not only does it solve the problem, but you go into a new dimension of self-love, then you don't have any problem with your family ever again. You can just be neutral with them. If I
mm,
saw my family now, I'd be completely neutral. And if I wasn't, I'd have to surrender it. So I guess it hasn't been tested. But
mm,
if it was tested, if it happens and it's tested, I'll face that when I come to it and surrender it because it could be that it is tested one day. I don't know.
mm.
So I'm not saying anything other than be real.
Yeah. And it seems like that process of journeying through, yeah, grief, anger, sadness, reactiveness, all these things, and then finding the way through each of those
Mm,
feelings
mm,
to find that resolution, to eventually, whatever it is, digest, metabolize, find the clarity, whatever needs to be worked through in that journey, and then coming back to that self love and self acceptance and then neutrality, like that whole
mm,
journey. It seems like maturing is the process of going through that journey again and again and again so it becomes more streamlined and efficient and faster.
mm,
So instead of 3 years and then 3 months and then the next time it's 3 weeks and then it's 3 days, now it can be, yeah, 30 seconds or
yeah,
three
yeah, or
seconds or whatever it
yeah,
is. And
yeah,
it's
beautiful.
not bypassing that ever, but it's just,
Mm,
yeah, being able to feel and go on that journey in smoother and more efficient,
mm.
graceful ways
Absolutely.
as
Without wishing it
stage.
away as well. Not like I
Yeah.
need to, it's not, if you say to yourself, I've got to get rid of something, you'll probably never
Uh,
get rid of it. It's
uh,
more like saying, that's quite a key, eh? That's a bit of a light bulb moment. Was for
yeah.
me. Oh, I'm not like trying to get rid of stuff. It's more transform it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
better way of putting it. Through fully feeling it without,
Mm,
and preferably, this is another key, which I'm sure you're aware of, a lot of people are. When the really difficult fear, let's say fear is fear of death is the mother of all fears, really, and there is no death, so it's an illusion, but we've got it. Animals have it, we've got it as mammals. Fear of, if you can go to a place where you don't listen to the story when you're feeling the grief, fear, anger, da da da, da, if you can go to a place where there is no belief in the story, it's just the story, you leave it alone mentally, emotionally, that stuff comes out quicker. It's
mm-hmm.
almost like you're witnessing the stuff that you could never witness before. The stuff that when that happened, you weren't witnessing it, you were in it. I was traumatized by my father, mother, uncle, wherever, schoolmaster, it doesn't matter who it was, just not believe the story. But like you rightly say, and that's also a really good point you've made. It takes a lot of practice.
Mm,
Neurolinks, right? Forging the
mm-hmm.
grooves
Mm-hmm.
in your brain through
Mm-hmm.
repetitive remembering makes a huge difference. So it is practice makes perfect. Absolutely is. It takes patience, repetitivity, courage. Often
Mm-hmm.
probably don't want to do it, and you go, oh, that again. Natural, but if you can just keep going
Mm-hmm.
and not listen to the story is a very quick way through it.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to the story and getting into the hooks of the story makes it linger longer, in my experience. So that's
Yeah.
another key. Probably haven't got long.
Well, yes, Andrew, I'm very sad to announce that I'm gonna have
Oh
to.
no, no, no. It's only been
Jo-
2 hours.
I didn't expect this.
No.
Yeah, what a beautiful, pleasant surprise. And yeah, even yeah, it just feels very serendipitous. Even yeah, asking you to come on this interview, it surprised me even to ask you. And yeah,
Yes.
now I can see what was drawing me, something resonating on a soul level, some knowing, but. I'm just really glad that you said yes and that I had the courage to ask you. Um, and yeah, I've really enjoyed this.
Oh, same. It's lovely to have this share, this
Mm.
real, honest, authentic, real, and also very
Mm.
spontaneous. We've done
Mm.
no prep.
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
maybe you did a bit with stuff, but it's you don't need to in a way. It's like
Yeah.
let's just see where it goes.
Yeah, and I would love to get you on again, have another podcast, and
Okay.
there's
Okay.
many more questions to come.
Well, you might find that you can answer them yourself, funnily enough, in the coming time, because
Mm,
these things do have a habit of, it might come from somewhere else or just in your own everyday experience. Oh, I was going to ask about that, but actually, and if, of course, I'm really open to always chatting with open-minded, open-hearted, kindred spirits, and because we're in the same tribe as well, that
mm.
probably is what opened it up, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, and I do want to say that there is one more, at least one more question, which is deliciously, uniquely wanting to be asked from me to you in particular. Um, so I will
Oh,
save that.
do you want me to give me an idea of that, or do you want to say that?
No, I will have that as a surprise for the next. What am I like?
Well, no, no, that's great. That's interesting. You've given me a bit of a carrot there, so
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm okay not knowing, honestly. That sounds like fun. So,
Yeah,
and also you're just down the road, so that's
yeah.
an, it's quite difficult with time, isn't it, in New Zealand for a lot of things. I've been interviewed by people and it's been so difficult, middle of the night, or
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, who knows? I'd love to do it, yeah, on Zoom again, or I may even just come down the road and
you've got good kit for like cameras and stuff. Have you got all that kind of stuff, or do you just
not
use a cell phone?
not yet, but cell phone these days is pretty great. So
Yeah, you can do that, can't you? Just two people sitting in a room, and
yeah, yeah.
it would be quite different to do it live. So I'm only in Nelson.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's see. And for now,
Okay,
thank you so much. Um, yeah, just what a pleasure and a joy. And
thank you. Thank you for asking me.
oh yeah,
You
thank you for
you
coming.
enjoyed it
Cool. And I'll be in touch and
so
see you
well.
soon.
Yeah, you take care.